Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpachar. Again,
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. It is always a pleasure to see the Mishpachar. I mean, I can't say that enough. And again, to all of the family that came out from Myrtle Beach, we're glad, so glad that you were able to make it. We've been talking you up, and you're here. Hallelujah. And just like an executive Morey said, we're glad that Morey, our Chief Morey, was able to make it, down safe and sound from Virginia. So we say hallelujah for that. Hallelujah. And let's go to get started. First and foremost, Mr. McCall, let's do this. I'm going to put out my disclaimer. All right, got to do that first. The intent of the congregation of Yashra'al is to, one, uplift and to bring all people to a better understanding of Torah, first and foremost, all right? Again, to uplift and bring all the people to a better understanding of Torah. We do not, and I repeat, we do not do or make personal attacks against any group or persons. However, all right, there's always a however. There's a catch to it, all right? But however, the fullness of Torah will be exemplified, and that is almost like the bottom line. If it says in the scripture, that's how we're going to do it, through Yahuah's instructions. Now, to prove some of these things, the first thing I want to do is go to the book of Devarim, or the book of Deuteronomy. Book of Deuteronomy, Devarim, the 8th chapter, and I'm going to be reading verses 1 through 3. And let everybody know, if anybody has a different version, interpretation, please let me know, because I need to make sure that everybody's on the same page here. And I like to capitalize on operative words here. Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter, verse 1. It says, all. So are we all good so far? All right? All right, so we can't cherry pick here. It says, all the commandments which I command you, all right, you this day, shall you observe to do that you may live. So we see now that there's conditions here. And everybody must make sure that they understand the conditions. Again, all the commandments which I command you this day, you shall observe to do, that you may live and multiply. Very important. And go in and possess the land which Yahuah swore unto our fathers, which were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So far everybody is good, right? You can't cherry pick here. Verse 2. And you shall remember all the way which Yahuah your Elohim led you these 40 years in the wilderness, to, one, humble you, and to prove you, and to know what was in your heart, or in our heart, whether we or thou wouldest keep his commandments or not. That is very important. And he humbled us and suffered us to hunger, and fed us with manna that we knewest not, neither did our fathers know, that he might make you know that man doeth not live by bread alone. Watch this. Unless somebody has a different interpretation, understanding, stop me and we can clear it up. But it says, but by every debar or word that proceeded out of the mouth of Yahuah doeth man live. That is very important. So in order to live, in order to multiply, in order to continue, we must make sure that we follow all of the laws, statutes, and commandments. If there's any problems, can we get a Besadur, okay, a Cain, yes. It's not about my scriptures say the same thing. Hallelujah. Let's go to the book of Yahuah. Yahuah 4 and 4. Make sure that there's no problems or issues. The book of Yahuah 4 and 4. We have the Mashiyach talking with the adversary here. Yahuah 4:4. But he answered the adversary and said, "It is written, man should not live by bread alone, but by every word." Again, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Elohim. Are we still good so far? Okay, great. Let's go to the book of Yirmiyahu, the book of Jeremiah. We could kind of set the stage here a little bit so that there's no problems. And again, this is not personal, but these are the words of the Father that He's written to us, and that we have to be obedient to the Father's Torah. The Father gave us these instructions in order that we might live. And when I read, my understanding or understanding of the Scriptures is this, is that we must do all of the Father's will in order to continue as a people. And collectively, we didn't do that. So now we're here on July 22nd, okay, in this hot room. All right? Okay, but all is good. We're still going to have a good time. Hallelujah. Yirmiyahu, the 7th chapter, verse, I'm going to do verse 22. For I, Yahuah, spoke not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought us or them out of the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. Again, for I spoke not to your forefathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. Verse 23. But this thing I commanded them, the nation of Yashra'al, saying, obey my voice. Again, obey my voice. And if we were to do this, and I will be your Elohim, and you shall be my people, possessive now, my people, and walk you in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you. Verse 24. But we collectively as a people, but they hearken not, nor incline their ear, but walk in the counsels and in the imagination of their evil heart. This is what we did. And we went backwards and not forward. Verse 25. Since the day that our fathers came forth out of the land of Mitzrayim unto this day, and I'm going to bring this current. When it says unto this day, we're talking about again, July the 22nd, 2017. Since the day that I brought your fathers, since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt, unto this day have I even sent unto you all my servants the prophets, daily, rising up early and sending them. Yet they hearkened not unto Yahuah, nor inclined their ear, but hardened their neck. They did worse. Again, we did worse than our fathers. Therefore, thou shalt speak all these words unto them, but they would not hearken to you. So we already know how this thing is going to turn out. All right? Not everybody, unfortunately, now is going to make this trip here. Therefore, thou shalt speak all these words unto them, but they will not hearken to you. Those shalt thou also call unto them, but they should not answer you. So that's pretty much self-explanatory on Yashra'al, that we must make sure that we follow all of the laws, statutes, and commandments, and that's the only way that we will be able to live and multiply as Scripture tells us. One more, the book of Yeshayahu, which is the book of Isaiah. 55. I'm going too fast. Slow me down. The book of Isaiah. 55. Maury, that's the sound that you love to hear, right? To turn the pages, right?
Oh yeah, old school.
Oh yeah, I get it. There we go. Want to make you feel at home here.
Oh yeah.
The turning of pages. The book of Yeshayahu, Isaiah, the 55th chapter, verse 7 through 9. Let's start at verse 6. Seek you Yahuah while he may be found. Call you upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return. Again, that word return is very important. Let him return unto Yahuah, and Yahuah, he will have mercy upon him, and to our Elohim, for he will abundantly pardon. And we're talking about our sins here. But again, making sure that we understand that we must follow all of the laws, statutes, commandments, because a lot of times we take to our own personal feelings, and that gets in the way, and then that becomes a deterrent for us making it into the kingdom. So watch how the Father is going to now explain this in very, very descriptive details. For the Father of Yahuah in verse 8 says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither is the Father of Yahuah ways our ways, saith Yahuah. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so is Yahuwah's ways higher than our ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So my thing down here is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. My argument is this: every single problem and issue that might be going on in your life, how to return back into covenant relationship with the Father is all here. It's really that easy. It's all here. Any problem that you're having, the Father has already set it out from the very beginning. And we know the importance of the Moedims, the festivals, which explains that a whole lot more in detail. Okay, I just wanted to give like a little precursor, a little icing on the cake there. But what we do here at the congregation of Yashra'al, first we give all esteem to the Father of Yahuah, the creator of all things. And secondly now to his son, Yahusha Mashiyach, who reconciled us, his people, back to the original covenant of our forefathers, which was the original covenant that the Father gave to the nation of Yashra'al was, you know, talking about sacrificing. It was all about obedience, right? It was all about obedience. Let's prove that. Let's go to the book of Samuel. 1 Samuel, the 15th chapter. Make sure everybody's on the same page. My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways. So if the Father says it's good for me. 1 Samuel, the 15th chapter, verse 22. And just a quick little intro here. We see now this is the time of Shaul, where Shaul was disobedient to the words of the Father, where Shaul said, I'm going to save the best, when the Father said to destroy everything in the land. Somebody said something? Okay. Verse 22. And Shemuel said, hath Yahuah as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices, which is a question, as in obeying the voice of Yahuah? Again. And Samuel said, hath Yahuah as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrificing as in obeying the voice of Yahuah? So obedience is very important. Obedience comes first and foremost before anything. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken, to hear, application, to apply, than the fat of rams. So let's see what leaning upon your own understanding is called. For Torah, Scripture teaches us, for rebellion is as the sin of divination or witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of Yahuah, he hath also rejected thee from being king. We're talking about Yashra'al. But this applies across the whole board. In order for us to be in a covenant relationship with the Father, we must be obedient to his Torah. If you're not obedient to the Father's Torah, the consequences can be very, very deadly, as we talk about so much in the congregation of Yashra'al. So deadly where it can actually mean your life and the life of your family if you're not obedient to Torah. It's just as simple as that. All right? Another thing I want to address, those of us that are in leadership, those of us that have positions and titles, simple instructions, and I'm going to make this personal. All right? I don't do personal attacks, but I'm going to use myself as an example and make it personal. Simple instructions I must remember before I, Kasadavar, remember, which should be across the board to all that minister. All right, so we're talking about some prerequisites here. All right, and this is going to all bring us up to speed again with 1 Kings, and we have part 4, and we haven't even got to verse 2 yet there. The book of Romans. We're talking about prerequisites. In order to minister, to be the voice of the Father, of Yahuah, in these troublous times that we're now in. Because we must blow the shofar and teach the people that we must come back to the ancient paths that the Father set up. I'm going to start actually with verse 17. And I pray that everybody's going to read the scripture the same way, but this is how I'm going to do it. The Father's talking to me. So he said, Behold, Kasadavar, thou art called a Yahudi and resteth in the law. Oh, excuse me, the second chapter? Oh, yeah, I said it from the beginning, right? I said this was my version, right? So hey, listen. Yes, the second chapter, please. The 17th chapter, I'm going to read down to verse 23. Second chapter, verse 17, verse all the way down to 23. Romans. Second chapter, verse 17 to 23. Behold, thou art called a Yahudi, and resteth in Torah, and makest thy boast of Elohim. I make my claim that I knowest the Father's will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law of Torah. This is my argument. If it's not in Torah, we might have a problem. All right? If it's not in Torah, we might have a problem. Now, I'll listen to what you have to say. I will do that. When it comes time now to define or come to a conclusion of the matter, we must be able to find it in Torah, because if not, again, the consequences might be severe. And I don't want the Father to actually get on my case. And knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of Torah. I am confident that thyself are a guide to the blind, a light to them which are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth and Torah or the law. Now, this is where it gets real sticky with some people. Thou therefore which teachest another, again, thou therefore which teachest another, teachest thou not yourself? Because we don't want no hypocrites, and there's no hypocrites in the room here, right? We all good, all right. Thou therefore which teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? Thou that preachest a man should not steal, Doest thou still? Verse 22. Thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, doest thou commit adultery? Thou that hatest idols, do thou commit sacrilege? Verse 23. Though thou makest thy boast of Torah, through breaking the Torah, thou dishonorest thou Elohim. And we don't want to be in a situation like that, because we're supposed to be the living examples of Torah. The walking, living Torah in the flesh is what we're supposed to be doing. Let's go to the book of Samuel, 2 Samuel. And we're going to talk about a particular person, and his name is Dawood, who I'm finding very, very interesting. Because I still hold fast, based upon my own personal experience, that there's a lot of issues with Dawood here. But if we don't have a good understanding of who David or Dawood is here, we might make some. We might have some problems. Second Samuel, the 12th chapter. And let me just say this here, okay, before we get started, because we're gonna get into this. We'll go ahead with it. I'll read it. Let's speak it here. And Yahuah said, Nathan or Nathan unto Dawood, and he came unto him and said unto him, there were two men in one city, the one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding manner of flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb, which he had brought and nourished up. And it grew up together with him and with his children. And it did eat of his own meat, and drank of his own cup, and laid in his bosom, and was unto him as a daughter. Verse 4. And they came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared to take of his own flock and of his own herd, to dress for the wayfaring man that was coming to him. Now watch what happens. But he took the poor man's lamb and dressed it for the man that was come to him. And Dawood's anger was greatly kindled against the man. And he said to Nathan, as Yahuah liveth, the man that hath done this thing shall surely die. And he shall restore the lamb fourfold, because he did this thing, and because he had no pity. Watch how it gets very, very interesting in this regard. And Nathan said to Dawood, David, thou art the man. Thus said Yahuah Elohim of Yashra'al, I anointed thee king over Yashra'al. And I delivered you, David, or Dawood, out of the hand of Shaul. And I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into thy bosom, and gave you the house of Yashra'al and of Judah. And if it had been too little, I would have moreover have given you unto thee such and such or more things. Let's go, I just want to jump to 2 Samuel 20 and 3. We'll try to set the stage here, 20 and 3. And the reason why I'm going here is because I'm going to be addressing some of these issues regarding Dawood. And again, my own personal experience why a lot of people don't like Dawood is because of the things that the father gave him, which were wives, concubines, handmaidens, and if anything that David didn't have, if he would have stayed sincere to the father, he would have given him even more things than that. 20 and 3. we have a situation where, you know what, Mr. McCall? Okay, we go ahead and do it this way. And Yahuah came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women of his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and put them inward and fed them. But he went not into them, so they were shut up until the day of their death, living as in widowhood. Because we know now what happened was Absalom here actually went into his father's concubines. And so, just to try to show here now is that we're talking about everything being done in decency and order. There's no way in the world, because it was taught from the old school where I came from now, is that women were they could be treated almost any type of way. But once these women were defiled by Absalom, his son, what David actually did was put these women away, all right, because he can't go back into these women because they were now defiled because his son had gone into these women here. But what we're going to try to show here now is that the father is actually dealing with Yahuah because there are certain things that he did. But at the same time, the father has such mercy on David and the type of zeal that David had. Once he committed an act of transgression, let's say that, he never repeated the same offense again. And so this is what made David righteous. Watch how this thing plays out. Let's go back now to 2 Samuel, the 12th chapter. We're going to try to spell out some of the things that was going on with David. We're going to set the stage, set the stage, set the stage. And Nathan said to David, "Thou art that man. Thus saith Yahuah, the Elohim of Yashra'al. I anointed thee king over Yashra'al, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Shaul. And I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Yashra'al and of Judah. And if it had not been too little, I would have moreover have given thee such and such things. Herefore hast thou despised the commandments of Yahuah to do evil." Again, evil in the Father's sight. "Thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and hast taken his wife to be your wife." And we'll tackle this a little bit later. So I'll go ahead. I'm not going to spoil it. We go too fast here. "And hast slain her with the sword of the children of Ammon. Now therefore, the sword shall never depart from thine house." Verse 10 is going to be very, very important. "Now therefore, the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife," David. "Thus saith Yahuah, Behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thy own house." Own house. So again, the consequences are very, very severe when we disobey or break the law, statutes, and commandments. We don't commit adultery, and we see what David did here is by taking another man's wife. The father is now putting the sword to his house forever. And this is going to also show us in a later class the reason why the Mashiyach had to come. And we talked about before the curse of Ahaz. We had talked about that. So again, David is a very important character here that we really need to make sure that we pay close attention to. "Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thy house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Thus saith Yahuah, Behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thy own house." So when it says, "I will raise up evil against thee out of thy own house," this now ties us back now to the book of 2 Samuel, the 20th chapter, verse 3, where we see now this evil being done in David's house, where his son now goes into his concubines. "And I will take thy wives before thine eyes, and I will give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of this son. For Yahuah, thou didst it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel, before the sun." So that's how the Father operates. When you do something wrong, you think you might be hiding from the Father, but I'm going to expose you in front of every single body. I'm going to point out the transgression. So again, Mishpachah is so important that if it's not in Torah, don't abide by that particular counsel. Again, you don't want to sport on your house. Verse 13, and Dawood said unto Nathan, I have sinned against Yahuah, first and foremost. Before you transgress against anybody, you have transgressed against the Father first. I have sinned against Yahuah, and Nathan said unto Dawood, Yahuah has put away thine sin. Thou shalt not die. Because everybody knows the consequences for adultery is death. But watch how merciful the Father of Yahuah is. But a lot of times when the Father is merciful, it comes with a catch. All right? It comes with a catch. However, because this deed that has given great occasion to the enemies of Yahuah to blaspheme, the child also that is born into thee shall surely die. So again, somebody's going to have to atone for the transgression that you did. And what the Father did now is that he took the firstborn son of Dawood. Verse 15, and Nathan departed into his house, and Yahuah stroked the child that Uriah's wife bare unto David, and it was very sick. Dawood therefore besought Yahuah for the child, and Dawood fasted and went in and laid all night upon the earth. And the elders of his house arose and went to him to raise him up from the earth, but he would not. Neither did he eat bread with them. And it came to pass on the seventh day. And what is so important about the seventh day is the number 7 represents completion. Hallelujah. And it came to pass on the 7th day that the child died. And the servants of David feared to tell them that the child was dead. So if anybody was to ask, can anybody or can another person die or make an atonement for you because they can't find it in the scripture? So we have one case here, and there's a whole lot of other cases here where we see now, because of the sin of Dawood, we now have the firstborn of David dying, and this is how the Father's actually pardoning Dawood there, because the Father's going to make a covenant with David all at the same time. We had verse 18, and it came to pass on the 7th day that the child died, and the servants of David feared to tell them that the child was dead. For they said, Behold, while the child was yet alive, he spoke unto him, and he would not hearken unto our voice. How would he then vex himself if we tell him that the child is dead? Verse 19, but when David saw that his servants whispered, David perceived that the child was dead. Therefore David said unto his servant, Is the child dead? And they said, He is dead. Then David arose from the earth, and washed and anointed himself, and changed his apparel, and came into the house of Yahuah, and worshipped. Then he came up to his own house, and then he required that they set bread before him, and he did eat. Then said his servants unto him, What thing is this that thou hast done? Thou didst fast and weep for the child while it was alive. But when the child was dead, then didst rise and eat bread. And he said, While the child was yet alive, I fast and wept. For I said, Who can tell whether the Father will be gracious to me that the child may live? But now he is dead. Wherefore shall I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me. And David comforted Bathsheba his wife. So who is Bathsheba to Dawood? You think about it. You don't know. You get back to you next week. Where we at? Who is Dawood in reference? Who is Bathsheba in regards to Dawood? Okay, his wife. We can talk about that. And Dawood comforted Bathsheba his wife, and went in to her, and lay with her, and she bare a son. and he called his name Solomon. And Yahuah loved Solomon. And he sent by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and he called his name Jediah, or Yediyahu, because of Yahuah, and Job fought against Rahab, the children of Ammon. So I just wanted to bring that out. 2 Samuel 22. 2 Samuel 22. And remember, the father said that the sword should never depart from David. And out of all the things that David went through, at the end of the day, David never gave up and never turned his back on the father of Yahuah. Verses 1 through 10, 2 Samuel chapter 22. And David spoke unto Yahuah the words of this song in the day that Yahuah had delivered him out of the hand of all his enemies and out of the hand of Shaul. And he said, Yahuah is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. For Elohim of my rock, in him will I trust. He is my shield and my horn of my salvation, my high tower and my refuge. He is my Savior. Thou savest me from violence. I will call on Yahuah, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies. When the ways of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress I called upon Yahuah and cried to my Elohim. And he did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of Shamayim moved and shook, because he was wroth. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and the fire out of his mouth. Devoured coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also, and it came down, and darkness was under his feet. So again, I just wanted to show how Dawood here never gave up on the Father, even after the mistakes that he made. Mr. Carr, for the last 4 weeks, we've been talking about customs, what was going on actually in 1 Kings, the first chapter. So just to be a real quick recap. We want to talk about a little bit David's medical condition. What do we believe might have been the cause of David dying? Because we had talked about David dying at the age of 70 years old. But there were some things that was happening to Dawood that might shed some light. But as far as customs, let's go to the book of Neyhemyah, the 6th chapter, and we'll get our executive Moreh Eliyahu. If he can go to Neyhemyah or Jeremiah, the 6th chapter. The 6th chapter. Let's see what we want to do. The 6th chapter. Moreh, we're going to start at 16th verse, because we're talking about our customs. The Hebrew word kukwa. Customs. So, Jeremiah, the 6th chapter, verse 16. Please.
Jeremiah, 6th chapter, verse 16. Thus said Yahuah, stand ye in the ways, and see, and ask for the old path.
Ask for the old paths.
Where is the good way, and walk therein.
And walk therein.
And ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein.
We will not walk in Torah. This is what we say.
Also I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet. But they said, we will not hearken. Therefore hear ye nations, and know, O congregation, what is among them. Hear, O earth, behold, I will bring evil upon this people.
We're talking about the whole collective body of the nation of Yashra'al. Verse 19 again, from the top, please.
Hear, O earth, Behold, I will bring evil upon this people, even the fruit of their thoughts.
The fruit of their thoughts. The reason why I say the fruit of their thoughts, because their thoughts are not after the thoughts of Torah. This is when we begin to lean upon our own understanding. So it's talking about even the fruits of their thoughts. Read on.
Because they have not hearkened unto my words, nor to my law.
So we have two things that's going on here now. We have our own thoughts, and we have not listened to the words of Yahuah or his law, but we have rejected the Father's Torah. Rejected the Father's Torah. Yirmiyahu, the 10th chapter. Shaul. You can bring that scripture out. The book of Yirmiyahu, the 10th chapter, verses 1 through 3.
Hear the word which Yahuah is speaking to you, O house of Yashra'al. Thus says Yahuah, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain.
And that's what we want to capitalize here. The customs of the people versus the customs and the laws, statutes, and commandments that the Father gave us in the nation of Yashra'al. So again, that word customs is going to be very important. Read on.
For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman, with an axe.
That's all we wanted to bring out there. The reason why, Mishpachah, I'm so keen on customs is because customs describe a people. Customs describe our nature and our characteristics. Example, we had our own names at one point. We had our own diet, our own dress code, our own language, our own rules on governing our children and our community. We had our own festivals, our own constitution, just to name a few. Now, let's go to the first book of Kings. We're talking about customs here. Let's go to the first book of Kings, first chapter. Rob, I can't. How we going with time? You good? Okay. One more hour? Okay. You see, I can afford to lose a few pounds, so I'm going in and sweat it out. Sweat it out, sweat it out. Now, King Dawood was old and stricken in years, and they covered him with clothes that he got no heat. What I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, did a little research, and in modern Palestine and in Egypt, in the warmer seasons, married couples slept sometimes in separate beds because of the heat. They only departed from this practice for medical reasons. As pertaining to David, we see that David was not able to get any heat because he's now stricken in age, and to maintain a safe body temperature, we had talked about it was 98.6 degrees for the most part. That's a normal body temperature. But we have David here now not able to maintain that 98.6. Where we at? Oh, okay. And so 98.6 is the normal body temperature. But David wasn't able to maintain that body temperature because he was old. So I wanted to find out what actually happened with David, because David is now 70 years old. Let's go to the second book of Samuel. I found something very interesting here. 20:15 to 17. David is now getting up in age. David is getting old now. Getting old. 15. Watch how this goes. It says, moreover, the Philistines had yet warred against Yashra'al. David is now up in age. And David went down with his servants with him, and he fought against the Philistines. And David waxed faint. So at this particular venture, David wasn't able to stay up with the rest of the men. in this battle here. He's fighting against the Philistines. So he's found himself getting tired, and he's fighting a Philistine here. And Ishbi-Benob which was the son of a giant. Okay, the Nephilims. He was a big guy, a strong, he was of the fallen ones. And Ishbi-Benob, which was of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear weighed 300 shekels of brass in weight. Now, depending on what version you're going to be reading from, some are saying that the actual, the head of, 2 Samuel, the 21st chapter, verse 16. 21, 2 Samuel, the 21st chapter, verse 15. I'm going to read down to 17.
Okay.
And it made, again, like some of the versions they said at the tip, just the tip of the sword weighed almost 10 pounds. Just that. And this guy here, this particular Nephilim here, he was able to swing and maneuver that spear there like nobody's business. And so this just describes to us the nature and the strength and how big this particular giant was. And he being girded with a new sword, some say a club, he thought to have slain David. So this guy was really bringing it to David. But it got to the point now, but Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, saved David and smote the Philistine and killed him. Watch what happens. Then the men of David swore unto him, saying, Thou shalt go no more out with us to battle, that thou quenchest not the light of Israel. So we see now David again he's up in age. And it got to the point where if he didn't get assistance from one of his top men there, this Philistine, this giant now, might have killed David. Now, going back to 1 Kings. And again, I'm only talking about my own personal experience with this particular scripture. All right? Again, I don't do personal attacks. All right? I just want to make sure that is clear. So now that David can't maintain a proper body temperature, and it says, Wherefore his servant said unto him, Let there be sought for my sovereign the king a young virgin. All right? And let her stand before the king, and let her cherish him, and let her lie in thy bosom, that my sovereign may get heat. That became an issue. David has wives, he has concubines, handmaidens, and so what's going to happen now is that you're going to get this young woman, all right, and you're expecting something to happen now because David now has this young woman. But we talked about earlier about some of the customs because of the temperature that happens actually in the so-called Middle East. And a lot of times, we might sleep in separate beds because of the heat. Go to Ecclesiastes 4 and 11, and let's get our junior officer, Yahuah. Ecclesiastes 4 and 11.
Again, if two lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone?
Exactly. And so we don't have to get into any detail with that. All right. So you have two parties together.
I don't understand.
Oh, you don't understand? Oh, well, okay. Well, what I have what we call I have what we call fun facts. Okay, fun facts. And I'm going to keep the fun facts clean. All right. David was not able to maintain a normal body temperature. When two people come together, because I already knew the Ruach came upon me and said, listen, our chief warrior is going to ask that particular question. Right? So I said, I'm going to write out some fun facts here. All right? When two people come together in an intimate way, the body temperature between the two rises slightly. The normal body temperature again is about 98.6, but the body temperature, it rises slightly. We went to Ecclesiastes 4 and 11. Watch what happens now. Now remember, this is a young woman that's being brought to David and they're trying now to revive or resuscitate David. Intimacy. Intimacy increases the production of oxytocin. Oxytocin. Some call it a love hormone. All right, and we'll leave that there. Oxytocin, along with other endorphins, smooth nerve impulses. They help with menstrual cramps. They work with migraines and joint pain. When intimacy is there,
I know what that means.
I didn't get an example. Yeah, I got a little tongue tied there. But we do know that during this act now, that actually there's another drug or hormone that's being released. It's called dopamine. Dopamine is released. Another is called norepinephrine. Testosterone is released in both men and women. Serotonin is released. And serotonin is an actual antidepressant. It acts like a drug like Prozac. So if anybody's feeling down and under the weather, you know, kind of boost your morale a little bit. All right? So when we read verse 2, let's break this down here a little bit. Let's break this down. Wherefore his servant said, let there be sought for my sovereign king a young virgin. We had talked about this here in the congregation of Yashra'al. We talked about the different types of virgins. We talked about a Yahuah. We talked about a Betula. We talked about an Alma. What was the other one? Anybody remember the other? There was an Alma. There was a Na'ara. We talked about the Betula. I think those four we talked about there. And so that's what we get for young virgin. Young is Na'ara, the word virgin is Betula. And let her stand before the king. When it says let her stand before the king, it means that she would be David's personal care provider. Again, this young Betula, she would be David's personal care provider. Where it says let her cherish him, that means to benefit, to profit, to be used, to be familiar with, to know in an intimate way. Where it says that let her lie in Dawood's bosom means to lie with David as his wife. And I use the word wife, I'm using the word very, very loosely here. Very, very loosely. Why a virgin? Why a virgin? The reason why, because again, we talked about customs here that we used to participate in. Amongst our people in other so-called Middle Eastern cultures, it was believed that, again, just carefully now, it was believed that there was a different type of aura, light, and temperature coming from a virgin. This is what was believed. She was looked at as being wholesome, not impaired with bearing or breeding children. And we all know that when the father was dealing, especially with the Levites, that a Levite could not deal with a woman that had known a man before. The Levites were set apart people. My argument now is still to this day is that we, the nation of Israel, are supposed to be set apart people. This is the reason why we teach here in the congregation of Yashra'al that all women must know Torah. Again, all women must know Torah. And the reason why all women must know Torah is because we are also looking for our ishas that help support us, okay, in the ministry. Meaning now that if there's a problem or a situation inside of the household, we will also need her to say, listen, baby, you know what? This was wrong, that was wrong. We need to go back and revisit that and check that. So there's also her responsibility to know Torah. So purity is very, very important. Let's go to the book of Bereshit, the 3rd chapter, verse 20. Let's try to look at this a little bit more in detail here. And what is actually going on with Dawood and Dawood's positions in regard to why they chose a virgin. And Adam called his wife's name Yahuah. Just write that down here. We have 3 and 20. We have and when we look at that word Yahuah or Eve, Habiba, this is Strong's number 2332, and it means life or living. As it tells us, because she was the mother of all living, and the word Yahuah means life or living. So it was believed that a virgin or a Betula could restore or bring back to life. As our mother Miriam was able to do, watch this now, as our mother Miriam was able to do as a virgin, restoring Yashra'al back to covenant relationship with the Father by bringing forth the Son, Yahusha Mashiyach, Miriam being of the seed of David. So let me explain that. We have Mary that was a virgin. The Father now needs a vessel, okay, to use in order to now bring back salvation into Israel again. So he's using a virgin. This virgin now is going to it's like she's resuscitating again, but she's of the seed of David. Of the seed of David now, but we teach now purity laws. The laws of purity. The Father even talks about when we come back into covenant relationship with him, and we being redeemed by the blood of the Mashiyach, we are now considered virgins again. All right? So again, virgins represents renewal, life. Even when a mother, when she's bringing forth children, she's feeding the baby now through the umbilical cord now, so she's actually maintaining or keeping the baby alive through that umbilical cord. So women are very, very important. So we see now David being used, we're going to bring out the sister's name here. Her name is Ashley, but she's now actually laying with David, and because of the different vibration or aura that a virgin has, because she's never been with a man before, and what is going to happen, expecting that these things are going to actually raise David's hormones, where he's going to now feel better, but that actually didn't happen. David is now an old man. So
I take it like she was his nurse in the days turn. That was his nurse to function him and put him back into, and she could take care of him. This is a nurse, it's a caretaker. I don't know. And then David was only 7, and he just come out of battle.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't no old man. 7 ain't got.
No,
You know what I'm saying? So he has a nurse now to get him back to, if she can. You know, just like if you get in sick, you call a nurse, bring it to the house, she make sure you okay, right? So that's how I read it.
Okay, I'm going to show you how the scripture reads it. All right. That's good. That's no problem.
Now, some other guys, they may have brought her in there to ordinary carnalists, or whatever you want to call it. They carnalists, they was hoping that maybe this can do something. That's what they can.
That's fine. No problem.
That's right.
Like we said, we're going to keep it all Torah here. The word lie is the Hebrew word shakar. Let her lie in David's bosom. Nurses don't lie.
Well, I get that.
Exactly. We don't do that. This word right here, shakar, means to lie down, to have sex, to know in an intimate way.
That's what, okay.
Right. So this didn't happen. The word is shinai. That word right there means to go to sleep. All right? Which is kind of a little bit different here than this word right here, is what I'm trying to express here. Because it's going to let us know, okay, when we go down to verse 2, that David didn't lie, he didn't have intercourse with her.
Right.
But in order now to understand the full story, because I don't want to jump the gun, all right? Because we're going to have to be able to also understand seed and successorship. There was something that happened that caused a big stir in Israel regarding that particular woman. All right? So, again, lie down to have intercourse. That's what the word is shakar.
That's what they hoped he would do. Right? That's what their hope for him, to get his hormones to kick back up. That's all I'm saying. That was their hope.
Right, exactly.
That's all right. But
right,
according
exactly.
to what you just said earlier, breaking it down, I'm not, you was like saying, okay, back in the ancient times in the Torah, we had a situation where people would come together and keep each other warm. Right? So if
No. Excuse me, let me clarify that. It was in some cultures, all right, if you had a tent with your Isha, you might not sleep in the same, even today, you might not sleep in the same bed because baby is too hot. You know what? Can you sleep at the foot of the bed or can you sleep in another room? That type of situation. Because we wasn't alluding, nobody slept, nobody loved the wife or other crap. No, it sounds like that. But what I'm just saying here now is that because of the temperature, okay, and we slept in tents, a lot of times you might sleep in another part of the tent or whatever the case like that might be because, again, of the temperature. But in David's situation, David is king. He is king. You don't disobey the orders of the king. The servant said, listen, you know what? We're going to go throughout all of Israel and we're going to search for a particular type of woman. And this particular type of woman, she had, in layman's terms, all right, she had to be banged. She had to have a Halle Berry type body because she said she was Yapah. And the word in Hebrew for beautiful is Yapah. She had to be beautiful. And this woman was the best looking woman, okay, in all Israel. And they brought that woman to David. And what I did now is I broke down the 3 different responsibilities that this woman had. She was to lay in David's bosom, and that word lie is shakar. But now they find out, just like you said now, that because of his old age, okay, and he was sick, because you wasn't here at the time, but we had talked about that. The father said, listen, you know what? The age of man should be about 70 years old. But through strength, and his strength might not all be there, he might reach 80. Right? But might reach 80. But again, when you go to 2 Samuel, like the 21st chapter, is going to talk about another man that David knew. And this particular man brought victuals out to David. He brought dates, cakes, asses, and he brought wine to David. And this man was actually 80 years old. This particular man told David, listen, you know what? I can't travel and go with you. Take my servant and go with you because I'm an old man. I'm 80 years old. I can't listen to the music. I can't taste the good foods and things like that. Let me stay here in my own country. So there's a lot to it. And again, we don't teach here. Again, let me just say this. This is not about polygyny. This is not about concubines and handmaids and things of that sort. And pushing those things. I'm just reading out of the scripture and what this particular woman's responsibility was. And then long story short, there's a couple of nurses in here, and they better not be laying down. we have some chief mores here, we have some elders here, and we got a lot of pen and paper, and we can write out that get right real quick. All right, you can do that.
Let me just say, too, in customs, in a lot of customs, a man having a younger woman and it's a virgin, it's said in certain customs and cultures that young virgin woman can transfer her energy to him to make him feel like a youthful man and strong. So a lot of customs do that, and part of this was that. And part of it was to excite him to try to get his body together.
And that's all they be saying, because not getting too much into it, because even when we begin to look at the dynamics, as you know, between men and women, you know that a healthy man can produce see Zerah until he died. But it gets to a point now, being that women are so delicate,